West Ham Massive are pleased to support Irons Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham United fans and friends inspired by the work of other football fan food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations for Newham Food Bank in Beckton, who supply 7 distribution centres in the borough 7 days a week, and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham and Essex communities. They are supported in their efforts by West Ham United, the WHU Foundation, LS185, London Legacy Development Corporation, Newham Council, Barking and Dagenham Council, the Met Police, Spire London East Hospital, and a large number of West Ham and football fans. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page, the link for which you will find in the description section of the video details of this stream on YouTube. Thank you for your support. Come on, you Irons. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the West Ham Massive. Thanks for joining us. Please don't forget, if you haven't done so already, to like, comment on and share this stream to your social media platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already, and make sure you hit the notification bell. You'll be alerted for any new content as and when it is added to the channel. As always, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much indeed for your support. And before I go any further, little disclaimer: if adult language offends, please do not watch this. I can't guarantee that I'm going to be speaking in the Queen's English for the entirety of this broadcast. I might let out the odd curse word. So if this is not your cup of Tetley, then you might want to go off and watch Songs of Praise. Anyway, that's that bit out of the way. We are here to discuss the goings-on yesterday at London Stadium. Match day 7 of 38 in the Premier League. West Ham United 2, Sheffield United 0. Now, I was there, and I have to say that it was an efficient performance, I think. However, glass half empty, glass half full. It depends upon how you want to look at it. I mean, look, it was 3 points gained. It was largely a team that I think most of us probably saw coming. I know that David Moyes had a decision to make about Naya Figueira. I think that was the one that really needed a little bit of thought on the part of David Moyes, and he decided to stick with the Moroccan. Dinos Mavropanos obviously had to make do with a bench place, rightly or wrongly. In my opinion, wrongly, but we'll get into that a little bit down the track. But the 11 was named. It was largely what you thought it probably would be. It was a 4-2-3-1 formation. In actual fact, I'll tell you what I'll do, because I've actually got this prepared. So I might as well get this up on the screen for you so you can have a little bit of a Frankie Butchers at it. So that there was the starting lineup. So I'll go through Sheffield United. That you can see them there. They were in a 3-5-2 formation. They were Fotheringham in goal. Back three was Robinson, Egan, and Ahmed Hodzic. Then from left to right in the central midfield, you went Thomas, McAtee, Souza, Hamer, and Bogle. And up top, the strike partnership, such as it was Archer and McBurney. West Ham lined up Areola in goal, 4-2-3-1 formation in front of him. From left to right, Emerson, Aguirre, Zuma, and Kufau. The double pivot consisted of Alvarez and Thomas Soucek. And then in front of him, Paquetá was left, Bowen was right, Ward-Prowse was in the number 10 position, with Michail Antonio occupying the striker's berth. So it was largely what we probably thought in the main. Like I say, maybe the odd position here or there, you could make the case that this player should have been in, that player should have been in, whatever. David Moyes made his choice, and that was pretty much all there is to say about it. Now, the game started, I thought that, to be honest with you, we were the better team in that first half. There's no shadow of a doubt for me. In the first half, the game was pretty much wrapped up in the first 45 minutes. So we had a goal on 24 minutes, which was Jared Bowen. It was a lovely little bit of interplay from a couple of players. Kufal and Bowen were both involved. Kufal went off careering down the right-hand side. He plays in this beautiful whipped cross, and he gets an assist again when Jared Bowen gets on the end of it and puts it past Fotheringham on the 24th minute for West Ham 1, Sheffield United 0. I've got to say, Vladimir Kufal absolutely is really coming back to the fullback that we saw when he first came in from Slavia Prague, 3 years ago now? And it's really good to see. Like I say, he's really sort of like becoming a buccaneering fullback, getting forward, getting crosses in, causing problems, defensively very solid, and it's nice to see that he's getting back to his best, I believe. And West Ham obviously were 1-0 up, and to be honest, like I say, Sheffield United, I thought, looked exactly what they are. They're a bottom ranking Premier League team that's just come up from the Championship. I don't mean to be funny to them. I don't mean to be sort of, patronising or anything like that, although that's probably how it's going to come across. But they're at the bottom, towards the bottom of the table for a reason, and that reason is actually they're not very good. They're not, I mean, at this precise moment in time, they're 20th, and they're there because in the 7 games that they've played, they've got 1 point. 1 point. They've scored 5 goals in 7 games and conceded 19. Their last outing, obviously, being an 8-0 thrashing by Newcastle. Now, I kind of thought, and I said it in the match preview, that I thought that smashing up was probably going to make them a slightly tougher nut to crack than they were 7 days earlier. And so it proved. But to be honest with you, I mean, we never needed to get out of second gear, if I'm being honest. And we go to the 37th minute. Thomas Soucek was played through by Michail Antonio, and he's in the penalty box. He slots the ball away, and 2-0. And to be honest with you, from that point on, you couldn't really see that it was gonna, on the basis of what that happened in the first 45. I couldn't really see that there was any way back for Sheffield United, despite the fact we had another 45 minutes to play. But there was also, I want to sort of get into this because there was also a brief pause in proceedings when the VAR was looking at a potential handball. Now, I've seen it. Obviously, I was there in the stadium when it happened, so it was the other end of the ground from where I sit. I clearly couldn't make a judgment on it, but I've seen it latterly. That's a penalty for me. I mean, the ball's coming in. His arm's out here. If his arm's here, I'd say, okay, fine. If it struck him, fine, whatever. But his arm's out here. I'd be very, let's be completely honest. If that was at Anfield and if that was Sheffield United against Liverpool and it was a Sheffield United player and it's hit him on the arm, I think we know that more often than not, the referee's blowing the whistle straight away. VAR doesn't need to intervene. That is very likely a penalty. And even if the referee on the pitch doesn't give it, VAR probably will. But it just seemed like there was no real looking at it, no real consideration. There was a brief cursory pause. They had a little look and they just went, nothing here to see. And I didn't, as I say, at the time, I didn't think anything of it. But having seen it latterly, I got to say that I'm looking at it and going, that's a fucking penalty all day long and twice on a Sunday. But the two people that need to make that call, the referee and the VAR, neither one of them thought that it was. So we move on. Now, we then get into the second half. Now, I've got to say, and this is not an exaggeration, this is absolutely true. For the first 15 minutes of that second half, I was nodding off. I'll be completely honest. Nothing really happened, and it was just really flat. It was just nothing really much going on. I can understand it because if you stop and think about it, it's like we're 2-0 up at home against a team that's bottom of the league. They've just been smashed 8 goals previous week. We've got an upcoming fixture on Thursday where we go away to Germany. So do we really need to go balls deep and smash this lot to pieces? Well, it would help our goal difference, but do we need to? And is it really a false economy? For us to sort of like put our foot right to the accelerator and maybe get a third, get a fourth, get a fifth, which I think we were capable of doing if we really applied ourselves to the task, but we didn't at that stage. I just think that they possibly just thought, look, the game's done. All we got to do is just control and manage the game from this point on. Just make sure that we do the basics, make sure that we don't sort of give them any sloppy opportunities and all the rest of it. And it just sort of it didn't really, that first 15 minutes or so. Like I say, I literally, this is not an exaggeration. This is not me trying to sort of like paint a picture. I literally was nodding off. I was doing the nodding dog impression for the first 15 minutes or so of that half. Obviously, then we get into the sort of like the later stages of the second half. There's a little bit of changing around. There was an injury that John Egan suffered, their captain, and he was replaced by Chris Basham. A couple of other changes here and there. Tom Davies was introduced. Saeed Benrahma came on for Edson Alvarez. We had the introduction on 72 minutes, and this was the bit where I was getting a little bit excited now. 72 minutes in, Mohamed Kudus was introduced for Michail Antonio. Now, there was a phase in play. I mean, obviously, he only had an 18-minute cameo, but there was this one part of the play where he was on the right-hand side, the ball was played to him, and he was off. He was off. I don't know how many players were with him trying to stop him. They were sort of like maybe 3, 4, whatever. But he was gone. He was tearing away. He's sort of cutting inside. He was heading towards goal. The move eventually petered out. It came to nothing. But just he pushed their back line back a good 30 yards in the space of about 10 seconds. And I was like, wow, this kid's really looking impressive. Now, is it going to be time for David Moyes to unleash him in the Premier League against Newcastle next week? We'll have to wait and see. Probably a lot of that will be determined by the starting lineup against Freiburg on Thursday, I suspect. And obviously, we'll talk about that in the preview for that game when it comes around. Really exciting player, though. I mean, he's not a player that, I'll be perfectly honest, wasn't a player that I knew too much about. I've obviously done a little bit of digging since and found out a few little bits and pieces about him and seen his highlight reel. And I got to say, looks a very promising player, has to be said. I'd like to see him involved in the game against Newcastle. I really would, in some way, shape or form. I mean, look, I'm not saying he had a bad game, Antonio, in the slightest. I mean, he also had an opportunity in the first half. I think he should have done better with it. He just put it past Fotheringham's left-hand post. But, the game against Liverpool at Anfield, I thought he was poor. And I think maybe he could do with a rest. I think maybe he could do with a little spell. Just, okay, mate, we're going to start you against the start. I would advocate starting him against Freiburg, no problem at all. But then maybe sort of saying to him, okay, look, we're going to rest you for the Premier League game against Newcastle, and we're going to put Kudus in. Now, whether you put Kudus as the striker and keep Bowen where he is, or whether you shift Bowen into centre forward and put Kudus on the right, to be honest, I don't think it matters, because I think those two are going to move around and they're going to interchange anyway. So it really doesn't matter. But he looks really exciting. Areola had a save to make. There was an opportunity. There was a corner that came in, and the ball was played in. The centre back, was it Ahmed Hodzic? Listen, if the pronunciation's fucked up, then it is what it is. But he got a header at the back post. Areola, though, made a big sort of like spread himself, almost Peter Schmeichel-esque. I remember he sort of like back in the day, he'd make those sort of saves where he'd sort of like he'd leap and sort of like spread himself like a starfish and make the block. And he did just that. And as I say, the game basically sort of petered out to its conclusion, 90 minutes gone, and that was pretty much all there was to it. So that's me. I didn't really see that there was too much to worry about from Sheffield United's point of view. I think, with all due respect to them, they're in all likelihood they're going to get relegated this season. I just think that it's going to be, from 7 games in, they've got 1 point. it's a long road back. It really is. But like I say, we did what we needed to do. It wasn't particularly entertaining in the second half, I have to say, especially that first 15-minute phase. It was a snore fest. But I guess I can kind of understand it, because the game on Thursday, maybe they were just sort of thinking, let's just manage the game, strangle the life out of it. We got a couple of gears that we can go through if we need to, but we really don't need to. And let's just get the job done. Anyway, whilst I've been rabbiting on, I'm just going to go through your comments, guys. If you do happen to be watching this on Facebook or on Twitter, if you could do us a favor, if you could pop over to the YouTube channel, just make sure you put a like on the stream. It just sets the algorithms going in the right direction for the channel, so that we can get out to a few more people than would otherwise be the case. Thank you very much. Right, so Happy's in the building. So she says, so pleased with the 3 points yesterday, but wasn't the second half boring? It absolutely was. I think if I'd have had a tartan blanket and if I'd have had a flask of tea, I probably would have nodded off. I really would have done. It wasn't great, it has to be said. Budgie, hope you are well, my friend. Thanks for coming along. Hi, Joan. Hope you're well. Great win, especially given other surprising results. Yeah, it was a great win in the fact that we got the 3 points. I don't think it was, like I say, especially in the second half, I don't think it was one that was terribly aesthetically pleasing. But yes, I am well, and I hope you are too. There's just a few little interactions. Hi, Rani. Hope you are well. Just a few little interactions. Hey, Happy, how was Pots when you? Yep, they're just carrying on. Happy comes in. She was disappointed to start with seeing Souček starting, but you know what? Think we've got our first decent first season player back. Yeah, I agree, and I've actually, and again, if you're watching this on Facebook, if you're watching this on Twitter, you will not know that there is actually a man of the match poll going on the YouTube stream. So get yourself across to the YouTube channel if you wouldn't mind. Now, there are a number of options that I've put in. You've got 4 options that you can choose from. And they are as follows. They are Thomas Souček, Jared Bowen, Vladimir Kufau, and hang on, there was another one. Hang on a minute. Hang on. Bowen, Souček, Ward-Prowse, and Kufau. They were the 4 options. Now, I'll be honest, I voted on this. I was the first vote cast because I set the poll running, so I'm first one in. I voted for Souček. I thought I agree with what Happy's saying there. I think he's starting to come back to being something close to the player that we got from Slavia Prague a couple of years back, where he was getting goals, he was getting on the end of things, he was causing himself a nuisance in the opposition box. Thank you, Joan. Appreciate it. To be honest, this is actually pulled from a website that I'm just sharing, called Who Scored. So if you ever want to go on it, this is not me. I'm just sharing it onto the screen. So, but yeah, it's yeah, he's starting to look like the player that we got back then. I do think that he has been really hindered by the vanity project, and I understand why it had to happen. Declan Rice was our best player and all the rest of it, but the sacrificial lamb, the one that was essentially thrown under the bus was Thomas Souček, and it was one of those where I don't think that the midfield, although the personnel was the same and their responsibilities very drastically changed, and I don't think we ever saw the best of either of them personally, Souček and Rice, after their roles within the starting 11 changed. But there you go. Great call from Moyes to take Alvarez off after that booking. One more card, he would have missed the Newcastle game. Yeah, I think there was my boy George, he turned around and said about, before they brought the subs off, we obviously had a little conversation about who do you think is coming off, and he turned around and said Alvarez. I said, why do you think that? He said, because he's on a yellow. I think he's just going to sort of bring him off and not risk him. That was exactly what happened. And obviously that's the point you're making as well. So yeah, I think that we need to try and, like I say, we were managing the game, and that's correct. It just wasn't particularly great to watch, as you've alluded to. in the second half. They're happy. I was a naughty boy in the stadium. My mate Andy and I took seats in row 21 instead of 63 and 44. Listen, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is for permission. So, I wouldn't worry about it. Listen, did you get slung out? No. So it really doesn't matter. It's all good. Bobby Moore Lower, were you? Oh, yeah. Do you know what? I've never been in the Bobby Moore Lower. The only places I've ever been in the London Stadium, basically the seat that I'm in, which is in Block 203, which is up in the gods. And I think we went and saw, who was it we played in the FA Youth Cup semi-final? It was Southampton, if I remember rightly, last season. And we was basically in the same stand that we are, but normally, but we was like in the lower tier. They were vacant, so we didn't prevent anyone from taking their own seats. Yeah, I mean, look, if no one sort of like turned up and went, "Excuse me, mate, you're in my seats," then to be honest with you, I don't really see that there's a big deal. Obviously, if someone did turn up and say you're in our seats, then you've obviously got to have it on your toes and get out of their seats, and rightly so. Happy says, I didn't go to my own seat once last season. Oh, you naughty girl. Well, what the hell, what bloody hell were you doing? Whose seat were you in? And, oh, my goodness. A round robin of people finding seats in the London Stadium that don't belong to them. I mean, my goodness. Rani comes in. If they give that one, then they have to give one against us too. Neither pens, in my opinion. Oh, you're on about the penalty. Listen. The other one I haven't seen. Okay, I've looked at the highlights on the Sky Sports football YouTube channel, whatever. They showed the one that we were denied. I'll be honest, I haven't seen the one that you're referring to, so that one I can't actually comment on. Now, if you've seen it and you think that was a penalty and that should, but it's one of those, Rani. I mean, two wrongs, do they make a right? No, they do not. So it's one of those. I think if ours was a penalty, and I believe it was, if you are of the opinion that the other one was as well, I'll go with it. Then they were cheated out of a penalty, or not cheated. That's probably the wrong word, but because I don't believe it was cheating. I just believe it's incompetence more than anything. But Benny is very frustrating. Not sure what's up with him this season. I mean, look, he's always been someone that is very up and down, a little bit hit and miss. I like Benny. I think he's got a great skill set. I think he's probably our most potent weapon. But he does have a habit, and I bumped into Gio on the Hammers Chat boats, and after the game, and he hit the nail on the head. He's got the skills, but he just slows down our attacks something drastically. We're a team that likes to try and play on the counter, and part of that weaponry is the ability to transition from back to front quickly. The problem is that when the ball ends up at the feet of Benny, it all of a sudden starts to the acceleration is reduced in that particular movement from back to front. But as I say, still a fantastic player for me. I love Benny, but yeah, he is frustrating to watch at times, and yesterday was one of those occasions. Newcastle have lost Gordon due to a card ban, and also Barnes is out. Got to be an advantage for us. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've not seen too much of Anthony Gordon in a Newcastle shirt. I think he had a slow start to life in the Premier League with Newcastle after he moved there from Everton. But Harvey Barnes is a player I do rate. Harvey Barnes is am I glad he's injured? Only from the point of view that he misses the game for us, but I think he's out for a while, isn't he? So that's a real shame. He's a young English talent. I mean, for me, I never want to sort of see those type of players out for too long. Obviously, when they're facing us, yeah, fine, because it makes our life a little bit easier. But other than that, no, I mean, I feel sorry for the kid. I really do. Budgie comes in, says, Benny is such a good player, in my opinion. I think he's feeling like he hasn't got us behind him. So maybe he's decided not to try anymore. If he's not trying, mate, then he should ask for a transfer. Then he should put in a transfer request. I mean, I know they don't these days. I know they don't, and we all know the reason why. I'd hope that's not the case. I doubt it. I very much doubt it is. I mean, you've got to remain professional. You know, he's being paid an awful lot of money. He's got a job that people would give their right arm for. You know, he's playing in front of 60 odd thousand every other week in a stadium in the capital of England, and he's a star. You know, he's a superstar. He is. You know, Algerian fans love him. West Ham fans. Again, this was a conversation I had with Gio yesterday, and I think that he is a very polarizing figure. Is Ben Rama? You've got people on one side who absolutely adore him and just won't see that he's anything other than the perfect player. And then there's other people that think he's dog shit. Now, I don't think either of them is actually true. I think that the truth is somewhere in between. I don't think he's either as bad as the people that think he's shit is concerned, and he certainly isn't as good as the people that think he's the second coming of Lionel Messi is concerned. He's somewhere in between. I think on his day, I think he's unplayable on his day. But it's a bit like Andy Carroll, just for a different reason. I mean, with Andy Carroll, he was unplayable, but he's on his day, but his day wasn't very often because he was always fucking injured. Well, Benny doesn't have a checkered injury record, but on his day, it's not as often as you'd like it to be. He's a fantastic player, but he just needs to be more consistent. Joan comes in. Gatesy, Moyes said that he wasn't pleased with the second half. He wanted more goals. I wonder if this is true. Oh, I dare say he wanted more goals, but was he content with the fact that the team won the game? And as far as I am aware, at this precise moment in time, there were no injuries that we are aware of. There was no suspensions that were picked up ahead of the Newcastle game. So I don't think that he's overly concerned by it. Like I say, I think that we were far and away the better team out of the two. The fact is, however, we didn't have to be significantly better than them in order to be the recipient of the 3 points on the day. I think that we just did enough. We got the game won in the first 37 minutes or whatever it was. We got with the second goal with Souček. I just couldn't see any real way that they could come back from that because they were piss poor. You know, like I say, there is a reason why they are bottom of the Premier League. It's because they're not very good and the table doesn't lie. And we witnessed it yesterday. So they've got a long season ahead of them. But yeah, I mean, we go again. What we got here? So Joan, I love Benny, but I can't believe he doesn't want to attack and score. It's sad. I don't think it's a question of want, Joan. I just think it's a question that there are too many occasions when Benny's got the ball in the final third and he is faced with a decision, a key decision that he needs to make. Shoot or pass. And I think too often he unfortunately makes the wrong decision. Now, like I say, that's not to say that Benny is not a good player. As I say, in terms of his skill attributes, I think he is arguably our best player in that department. The problem is that when it comes to being able to make consistent decisions at key moments of the game that can influence things in our favor, I think that too often he is found wanting, and that's not an agenda. That is not an attack. That is not any sort of I'm not. It's not a personal sort of thing. I like Benny. I think, however, that his consistency is inconsistent, or his inconsistencies are consistent, whichever way you want to look at it. Happy comes in. She says should be making far more of an impact when he's on. because Packy's taking up the left side recently. Yeah, I mean, how do you guys think that Paquetá's looked out on the left? Do you think that he's quite having the same impact as he did the first couple of games of the season when he was being played more in a sort of like a number 10 role? And then we moved him out to the left. I think it was the Brighton away game, and that seems now to be the position he's occupying. Now, is that the position where we're getting the best out of him? Personally, I'm not sure. I personally think he will be more useful when he's sort of like central and he can roam left or right. When he's on the left, it's like, well, really, he's only got one direction of travel to sort of go, really, if you get my drift. So I think I think I'd like to see him back in the 10 role. But that's just me. That's just me. Ronnie says Antonio was instrumental in both goals. He was. I mean, obviously he got the assist for Souček. And as I say, I'm not saying he had a bad game as far as when I said about I personally would like to see Kudus get a go and for Antonio to be dropped out of the starting 11. It's a couple of things. It's that I think we need to look at Kudus. We paid an awful lot of money for the kid, okay? We've paid a lot of money. What was it, 40 odd million? And I don't think we can really afford to put a 40 million pound substitute on the bench and just keep doing that ad infinitum. I think at some point we need to see him starting in a Premier League game. Now, I think in some ways the pressure's probably off him against Newcastle. Now, I know we're the home team, but I think that most people would probably argue that we are very slight underdogs going into that fixture, despite the fact we got the win yesterday. I think that most people would probably make the case that Newcastle could possibly be considered marginal favourites. And I emphasise the words possibly, and I emphasise the words marginal. It's a matter of opinion, I guess, but I think that that's probably true. So the pressure would be off him. It would be the perfect game for him to make his debut. Not only that, but I think that Mickey's done great for us. Now, obviously, we know that he's had a checkered injury past, but that seems to be something in the past now. That doesn't seem to be something that really rears its head so much now as it did once upon a time. Obviously, it appears that he's made changes to his diet, this, that, and the other. But I just think that, I mean, you can't keep rolling the dice at some time. You need to give the guy a rest. He's 33 years of age. Yeah, he's very physically fit. He's very strong, all the rest of it. But I think you need to look after him. What a great way to sort of like put him on the bench. You've got him as an impact sub if things go wrong. But I'd like to see Kudus start. As I say, I don't know whether my preference would be Kudus as the 9 and leave Bowen where he is, because that he's done most of his good work in this fantastic start to the season in that position. So, why change it? But then again, I think those two would interchange anyway, to be quite honest with you. I think, if Bowen cut inside from the right, I think you'd find that Kudus would whip out to replace him on that side, and vice versa. I think that those two would be a very fluid partnership, and I'd like to see it in the Premier League. I think that it's very likely that whichever one starts, I think that we're going to see very likely the game on Thursday against Freiburg. We're likely going to see either obviously Antonio or Kudus. I don't think they're going to play together in that fixture. So I think that whichever one is on the bench in that fixture, you'll probably get a clue as to which one will be the one that starts against Newcastle. I could be wrong. And often I am. Let's be completely honest. Those of you that have listened to me ramble on know that from time to time I will make a proclamation and it will come back to bite me on the arse and I'll look like a complete prick. But there you go. It is what it is. Anyway, where am I? Right. So let's just have a little look more at your comments, ladies and gentlemen, and keep firing the comments in, guys. I mean, look, if there's anything you disagree with me, I'm not turning around and saying I'm right, you're wrong. This is all about opinions. I'm just giving you my opinions, and if you want to fire an alternate point of view at me, and I might sort of look at it and go, actually, I never thought about it like that. I'm always happy to listen to other people and see what you've got coming in my direction. But don't forget, there's 12 of you watching this live now. We've got a poll that's running on the YouTube channel. If you happen to be watching this on Facebook or on Twitter, get yourself over to the YouTube channel. Man of the Match award. Is it Bowen? Is it Souček? Is it Ward-Prowse? Is it Kufau? I think they all had a positive impact yesterday. I also love Benny says happy. He has at times been unplayable, but for fuck's sake, he is hard to watch this season. Yeah, he's had little moments. I mean, the Brighton game away where he played that ball in for one of the goals. Was it the Bowen goal? I can't remember now, but he played an absolutely beautiful ball in from wide, our left, their right, played a ball in, and we obviously finished getting a goal and obviously a nice win away at Brighton. But yeah, like I say, very, very inconsistent at the minute. Budgie says it's probably not the case, to be fair, Joan, but I can't think of any other reason for his dip in form. Joan then comes and says, Benny's had a couple of seasons with goals and assists. He seems lightweight so far this season. Like I say, I'm not too sure of whether it's lightweight. I don't think that it's, in terms of his physicality in the Premier League, I don't think that's fundamentally changed. I wonder if it's a confidence thing. I do wonder, and in fact, on the very next comment, as if by magic, Happy put it and says confidence issues perhaps for Benny. The quality of the new players across our front line is immense. And Joan then comes in and makes the point that she thinks that Benny suffers when he doesn't get encouragement. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, and this is what a manager is. Now, there's a difference between a head coach and a manager. Now, a manager, the clue's in the title. And you need to be able to, when you're a manager, be able to work out your people that you have working under you, with you, whatever. You need to be able to work out what is it that they respond best to. Is it that they need the arm round the shoulder, the consoling words in the ear, come on, lad, you're better than this. Come on, you'll come good. Keep working. It's going to change. Just keep doing the right things. I believe in you. Or do you need someone, other people might need the hairdryer treatment? I mean, I remember the story about Eric Cantona for Manchester United when he was at Selhurst Park, when he got done the Kung Fu kick. And just a sort of illustration of how sort of like some players the special players you maybe have to sort of treat a little bit differently, is apparently, and this was, it finished in a draw, if I remember rightly, 1-1 at Selhurst Park. And the match has finished, and by all accounts, Fergie's gone into the dressing room. He's berated everybody, called them, they're all fucking useless, this, that, and the other. And then he turns to Eric Cantona, who's just been sent off and kung fu kicked and assaulted a fan, rightly or wrongly. Whether he deserved it is another story, but that's what he did. And he turned to Eric Cantona, who was a I think would say he was a special talent as far as that team was concerned. And he just turned around to him and said, Eric, you can't be doing that. And like I say, I think that maybe David Moyes doesn't handle Benny the right way to get the very best out of him. Who knows? I could be completely wrong. There's only a couple of people that really know. Budgie comes in. I prefer Moyes to play 4-1-4-1 with Alvarez in the holding role. I do think we do revert to that at certain points, Budge. But I think that it's one of those where, yeah, I mean, I think as a formation, it wouldn't be a bad shout, to be fair. But we all know that David Moyes likes the tried and tested 4-2-3-1 formation. There you've got the Premier League table, ladies and gentlemen. I'll just get rid of that. There we are. We're sitting quite handily in 7th place after that result against Sheffield United. 7 matches played, 4 wins, 1 draw, 2 defeats, 13 scored, 10 conceded, with a goal difference of +3 and 13 points. So we're 2 points off of 5th, 3 points off of 4th. 4th place, obviously, at the minute, occupied by Liverpool. That was a weird one yesterday, wasn't it? Getting 2 players sent off and last minute own goal, or whatever it was. Very strange, very strange. But what else we got? Alvarez is real chop draw. Yeah, we got a player there that he's happy to do the shield work in front of the back four. He's happy to do it. Obviously, it was something that Declan didn't really want to do for us last season, which was why his role changed. And like I say, I do think it impacted on Thomas Souček. And now this season, we're seeing a version of Thomas Souček that is vastly improved. I don't think the two are a coincidence, to be fair. Did you know Bowen is now third top goal scorer in the league? I didn't know. Well, I thought he was second. Maybe was there someone scored a goal today that took him past? I don't really know. Mavropanos in the flesh is fucking humongous, says Happy. I haven't seen him, so I can't comment. I really can't. But let me just get rid of that. Right. Again, I thought he should have started yesterday. I did think that I don't think Aguirre played badly yesterday, as it turns out. I think there was one block that I remember him making in the first half that if he hadn't have made it, who knows, maybe Sheffield would have got something. But yeah, Mavropanos, we reverted to a back three when Mavropanos came on. We had Zuma in the centre, Mavropanos right, Aguirre on the left. Is that maybe something that David Moyes is going to utilise? Is he going to try and do three at the back? We know he's tried to do it at intermittent points down his West Ham career, so maybe this is a way that he's going to utilise those players. Emerson was my man of the match, but she voted for Thomas Souček, says Joan, on the poll. Well, listen, unfortunately, I can only put 4 options. Like I say, I personally thought that Thomas Souček was outstanding yesterday. A million miles away from the player that we've seen the last season or two. I hope you kept your eyes above waist level, Happy. Oh, of course. None of that. Souček took so many chances in front of goal yesterday and looked confident. Yeah, he had one in the first half as well. He put over the bar. I actually think he should have done better there, to be honest. But he's starting to look, like I say, he's looking like the player that we got back from Slavia Prague. James is in the building. Hope you're well, mate. Thanks for coming along, my friend. All is good. Can see Alvarez missing the Villa game, though, as if he can go the whole 90 minutes against the Magpies without getting booked. Well, we'll wait and see. I actually put myself into the ballot for that. I got quite lucky with that last year. I put myself into the ballot a couple of times, and I actually got lucky twice. I got the first, did I get lucky or didn't I? Well, I think I did, actually, because the first away game of the season was against Nottingham Forest. I took my daughter to her first Premier League away game, and then I managed to get the Newcastle game, and me and one of my sons went up there, and my daughter, we had the weekend up there. It was very nice. So maybe I've been to Villa Park before. I actually was there for the semi-final in 2006. James says, yesterday was a professional performance. Job done at 2-0. Yep, absolutely. No stress. We'll take easy games like that all day long, especially in the Premier League. The only thing I will say, James, and I said it earlier, I think we had more gears to go through. I think that with the Freiburg game, I think 2-0 up at halftime. Probably it was just a case from there on in of managing the situation and whatever. But it was boring, mate. As I say, I was literally nodding off in the second half. That first 15 minutes was just like, what do you do? WHUSHU, it's all right, mate. Don't worry. I don't sort of hold grudges like that. You know what I mean? Well, not usually anyway. I just don't think it's a pen. Listen, Ronnie, it's absolutely fine. As I say, I haven't seen the one against us, so I can't really make a judgment myself on it, to be honest. So I'll if I see it, then I'll be able to sort of pass a comment because that one, genuinely, I haven't seen it. It's not me trying to sort of dodge the issue. I literally haven't seen that one. That I saw on the highlights on the YouTube Sky Sports football channel. They showed the one against us that wasn't given. I personally think that was a penalty. Was the other one a penalty? I can't comment. If you think that if one's given, the other one's got to be given, then fine. Okay, give them both then. As I say, two wrongs don't make a right. But as I say, haven't seen it, so I can't directly comment on the other one in question. Just a few little pleasantries just being exchanged there. Just get through them. Emerson has come out stating how much better we are as a club compared to last season when we had Rice. I think someone else said that as well, didn't they, Happy? Was it Kufau? I'm sure I read that Kufau said something similar. So now whether they've said, I don't think they've said directly. I don't think they've turned around and gone, we're better without Rice. But I think the inference can be made that, well, he's one of the players that we don't have now, that we had last season. So probably you could make the inference to turn around and say that, yeah, we are a better team. And I honestly think we are. And I actually had that discussion with this gentleman here. Hi, Dave. Hope you're well, mate. And we're both in agreement that the sale of Declan Rice has allowed us to do the business to make us a much better starting 11. We're more complete, I think. Benny isn't dog shy at all, just needs to get his head up and go for it again. In form last season, he was brilliant. Exactly. Like I say, he's done it in a claret and blue shirt. He absolutely has. But as I say, it's just the end product needs to improve. He needs to get more consistency. Fantastic player, but just needs to be. And like I say, it may well be that it's, like I say, that David Moyes maybe doesn't approach him correctly. Maybe it is that, and I do believe that Benny's a player that probably responds better to the arm round the shoulder than he does to boot up the jacksie. And maybe it's that David Moyes is getting it wrong with him. James comes in, says, for him on Ben Rama, I think it's slowly coming to an end with him. I think he's losing his confidence. I said that earlier. I think it is a confidence thing. Sad, really, but he's a good squad player currently. Yeah, I mean, all things come to an end. Nothing lasts forever. And if this is sort of, if that is where we're heading, then it is what it is. But I think that possibly he's still got it in him to go to another Premier League club if he stays in England and go to them and do very well. I think that it just depends upon how they're going to play. I think that possibly that might be part of the problem as well. Maybe the way that he is best equipped to show the best of himself and the way that we set up, maybe they just don't marry up. A bit like Danny Ings, essentially. I think that Danny Ings is a better player than he's currently showing when he turns out for West Ham. It's just that, like I say, sometimes the piece of the jigsaw doesn't fit. I literally almost felt sorry for Sheffield United yesterday. Almost. I didn't. Absolutely not at all. She goes on to say, I had a bet on Bowen first goal scorer and us to win 3-0. Was waiting for the third goal from 37 minutes onwards, and they let you down. But we're used to that, aren't we? Happy. We've been supporting them for a long time. You forgot to put shit shot and shit pass in that dynamic. Oh, I'm very sorry. Do apologise. Think West Ham have outgrown Saeed Benrahma now. There may be an element of that. It may well be that we've hopefully moved up a level. I mean, it would be nice if Benny could come with us on that journey. But if that's beyond him, then I wish him all the very best if and when he moves on. No hard feelings. To make it at this level, they have to have a hard mindset, and Benny could not be mentally strong enough to pick himself up and get on with it. Possible. I mean, there's only, I mean, Benny knows how he is inside. James, yeah, we have so much quality on now, and Benny was exciting last season. Now we have a lot better on the pitch. Probably a fair comment, to be honest, Happy. James says he's backside Benrahma from minute one, but for me, I feel West Ham have gotten better. Benrahma stayed the same. Yeah, it may well be that he's just been left behind. Like I say, not a criticism of him. These things happen. Kudus needs to play central attacking midfield and do a job in the Antonio role for me. He's a dribbler, for fuck's sake. Why you want to give him less pitch to work in? He needs to be deeper running at people. And as I say, he actually had a moment in the match yesterday where he was probably just over the halfway line. He was just inside their half, and he got the ball on the right hand side, and he was gone. There was about 3-4 plays he left in his wake. As I say, the move didn't come to anything, but it was just sort of like it was one of those things where it got me off my feet. It was one of those moments in the second half where all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, something's happening here," and it was nice to see. Happy comes in. She says, "Antonio as an impact sub is exactly what we need. I wanted to see Bowen, up top yesterday, but Antonio did well. I think they did swap over at times. It was a fluid partnership as far as that side of things was concerned. Right, so I also get the move Bowen argument. The bloke's on fire in the position he's in. Yeah, I mean, look, I said this a little bit earlier, Rani. It's one of them where, is it a case of if it ain't broke, don't fix it? But then again, when he has been played through the middle, he's done well. So then, if you're going to drop Antonio out, then, as I say, do you play him? Who do you play as the striker? I mean, you've said you want him as a cam. So, okay, so we're not playing him as a striker. And if you're going to leave Bowen where he is, are we keeping Antonio where he is? I'm guessing. So who drops out? It can't be Souček. I wouldn't have thought it's going to be Paquetá. Alvarez or Ward-Prowse. I mean, I don't know, mate. It's an interesting conundrum, and I'm glad I'm not a Premier League manager. I mean, we all think we are. We all go to the football or we watch it on the telly or whatever, and we all sit there and say, why isn't Moyes doing this? Why isn't Moyes bringing this player on? Get rid of this player, blah, blah, blah. We're not a Premier League manager. What's happened to Ward-Prowse? Where's his goals and assists gone? I thought he had a good game despite that fact. I really do. I thought he was he was causing problems in his own way. No, he's not, Walshy. Don't be naughty. He's definitely not shit. He's not a one-trick pony. Leave it out, Rani. Don't start. That Bowen interview says Happy recently was really humbling. At one point before Hull, he was without a club and didn't think he'd make it as a footballer. I've not seen that interview, and I would be very grateful if you could point me in the direction. Do excuse me while I just have a mouthful of water. Oh, they're on form tonight. They're having a pop. They're having a pop. Look at them go. Can't believe Wolves beat City and Palace beat Man United. Listen, that's the beauty of the Premier League, though. You can get these funny results that all of a sudden sort of like make you go, where did that come from? That is the one thing that's slightly disappointing, that we won, but we're still seventh. And I thought we might have moved up a place or two, but listen, we're still in the hunt. We're still in the pack. Don't worry. There's lots more football. There's 31 games of the Premier League. There's going to be lots of twists and turns. All I want us to be is competitive. I want us to play decent football for the majority of the time. I don't think that that's unreasonable expectation. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But we're winning everything. Mark my words, says Walshy. What have you been drinking? What have you been smoking? There's something going on there. What good is an apology and a sanctioning of a red and VAR, chap? No idea. Having a little discussion about VAR, third behind Haaland and Watkins. Oh, is he? Okay, fair enough. Just come out and say sorry. Everything is rosy again. Were you there yesterday too, Gramps? Yes, I was. Did you actually fall asleep in the end? No, I didn't. But as I say, I was doing the nodding dog sort of thing. How didn't you see Mavs? He takes up some. I did see him, but I'm at a fucking distance. I'm in the gods, for Christ's sakes. It's not like he was standing next to me or whatever. Yes, I can see he's a big lad. I mean, I think he's what, 6'5", something like that. I know he's a big lad. He's a centre back, for fuck's sake. He should be big. It's part of the job description. Alvarez is a red card in the waiting, but love him. He's brilliant. Yeah, I mean, look, he's Mexican. He's going to have a rush of blood to the head every now and again. That's what they do in that part of the world. Exactly that, Budgie. Everybody, they're like little mice running around. Absolutely. Did you hear the banter between fans yesterday? We sung Champions of Europe. We know what we are. And they replied, Champions of the Championship. Do you know what? I couldn't work out what they were singing. There was a few people round by us. We all sort of like looked at one another. What are they singing? Okay, it now makes sense. The problem is that they're not champions of the Championship. That was Burnley. Sheffield United were the runners-up. So it's a shit song, and it's fucking inaccurate as well. So, Kufau said we're better without Rice. Yeah, I thought he did. I mean, whether he said that it was whether he actually named Rice, I don't know. But I think I saw an article where he said he believes we are a better team this season than we are last. Make of that what you will. Charlie, hope you are well. You took Albie to his first game, didn't you? I think you did, unless I am very wrong. Please let me know. if it was his first game, I hope he had a whale of a time. Please do, Happy. That would be much, much appreciated. Yep, Antonio as our number 9. End of. Hopefully, we'll bring in a striker in January. And it was disappointing not to see Mbama on the bench. Yeah, right. I'll tell you what. I'm going to get this off my chest as well because this annoyed me. Probably shouldn't. There's more important things, I know. But half time, right? Now, I don't know if you guys ever watch the bits and pieces that come on the big screens behind the goals, right? There was something, I don't know, they might have been advertising the women's team. They might have been advertising season tickets for next season or whatever. And anyway, there was this thing that come up, right? And it was sort of like, it was, trying to sort of shine a light and advertise whatever and da 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 da. And one of the statements it made was, about the West Ham United was homegrown stars. Now, I just had to laugh. I had to pinch myself. I was like, have I actually just seen that? I was like, homegrown stars. Right. Okay. Let's look at this starting lineup. How many of the 11 that were on the pitch yesterday were homegrown stars? Now, when I say a homegrown star, I'm not talking just, they're English. No, to me, a homegrown star, and you guys can tell me whether you think that the definition is my definition is correct or incorrect. But for me, a homegrown star for West Ham United is someone that comes through our academy. Now, that starting lineup that we had yesterday had precisely 0 starting players that were through the academy. And like you say there, Mbama, not even on the bench. I mean, I didn't stop and think about it. I think it was Kent that put it. And he turned around and said he's concerned that Mbama might actually fuck up at the end of the season. Now, I hope he's wrong. But the more I stop and think about it, and the more I sort of look and go, well, Mbama never even came on against Baka Topola at 3-1 up in a home game when we had one more sub to make. Moyes didn't involve him. It's not going to help him now. And then he's not even on the bench yesterday. It's like, for fuck's sake, what are you doing? This is a young talent. He's a academy graduate. He's got an awful lot of potential, and he's getting wasted. Is he going to do a Sonny Perkins and fuck off to Leeds? Now, all right, that's not worked out particularly well for Sonny Perkins last time I checked on him, but we need to keep these players. We need to nurture them. With a fucking academy of football, for Christ's sakes. It really pisses me off. And when I saw that thing yesterday, homegrown stars, I was like, oh, fuck off. Pull the other one. JWP, what a bargain. I always wanted us to sign him. Southampton fan friend has been praising him for years. One of the other managers where I work, very waxes lyrical. I mean, he's gutted that they lost James Ward-Prowse. He obviously knows that they couldn't keep him, but there you go. Does anyone know where we were this time last season? Not 7th. Not 7th. He was right in front of you. I bet you couldn't control yourself, could you? You filthy little ferret. I'm right next to the away fans in the Trevor Lower, so great banter. They were, Charlie comes in, they were singing Champions of League 1. You'll never sing that. Ah, right, okay. Okay, so it wasn't Champions of the Championship. I've got to be honest, there was, like I say, when they sung that, we was all looking at each other because we was a bit of a distance away, and we was like, what are they singing? Now I know. Champions of League 1, you'll never sing that. Thank fuck. West Ham ladies lost 2-0 to Data City. That's probably expected. He did indeed. Oh, young Albie. Oh, it's brilliant. He loved it, especially the 40-minute nap through half time. But no, it was great to take him. Very different day. That being said, I'll tell you what, he'll look at the photographs. You'll tell him that this was your first game. We won the game, and yeah, he'll have that as a memory. I mean, at the age he is, I mean, he's probably not going to have an active memory of it, sadly. You'll sort of say to him, "Oh, I took you to your first game." Because what is he now, 2? He's probably not going to remember, sadly, but you'll have the photographs. You'll have the memories that you've created. Hopefully, you've got him hooked. Happy says, saw a report somewhere that Moyes has been trying to sign JWP last season too. I don't think we could afford him. I've heard a few people say that, but I think that because of the money that we'd spent here, there, and everywhere, possibly because of financial fair play. I think that signing him last season probably would have been a stretch, because don't forget that Southampton is a Premier League club, and obviously him having that extra year on his deal, he'd have commanded a greater fee. So, 16 months. Yeah, I thought it was about 2, give or take. Filthy little ferry. I just joked on. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Joan. I am very sorry about that. But I'm not sad. Not sorry to you, Happy. I meant it. You're a filthy little ferret, and you bloody know it. Charlie, that's awesome. Took my daughter when she was 4. Ah, that's lovely. I was about 7. Yeah, I think I was 7 when I went to my first game, and I do remember it. I think if you go to a game when you're 16 months, there's virtually no chance that you're gonna sort of like when you're 20 and you're turning around Charlie and saying, "Well, oh, do you remember when I took you to your first game at London Stadium, boy?" And he'll just look at you and go, "No, Dad, I was 16 months old. You've shown me photographs and whatever, but I don't remember it." Um, yeah, absolutely disgusting behaviour. Naughty, a filthy little ferret. I'm going to tell her that when I see her next. But yeah, I mean, right. So let's have a little wee look. So I'm going to have a look at the poll, right? Just bear with me 2 ticks. I'm just going to click some buttons. So at the minute, we got 12 votes on the poll. And unless anyone's going to jump in, and if any of you guys are watching on Facebook or watching on Twitter, if you get yourself over to the YouTube channel, you've got time. I'm going to switch it off in about a minute, though, to get your vote in on who was the man of the match. Now, I've rightly or wrongly, I can only put 4 names in, and I've picked Bowen, Souček, Ward-Prowse, and Kufau. Now, Joan said a little bit earlier she thought that Emerson had a good game, and I thought he did, but I obviously went with those 4, and it is what it is. So if any of you guys haven't put a vote in, please do get yourself across. I will be closing it momentarily, so don't say you weren't invited if and when I close it. Happy comes in, says it's family tradition. My pops took me to Upton Park at 4 years old. I'd be very interested to know, Happy, do you actually remember it? Do you have any active memory of it? Because I don't really remember anything from when I was 4. You might be an exception to that. Budgie comes in. I was 4 for my first game at Upton Park, 11th of December, 66-7 season versus Newcastle. Same question to you, Budge. You was 4 years old. Do you actually remember it? Or do you only look at photographs and you were told that this was you or whatever? Because, as I say, I don't really remember when I was 4 years old. I remember the game, my first game at Upton Park, 7 years of age. Bury, we beat 10-0 in the League Cup. But I think if that had been sort of like at 4 years of age, I don't think I'd have remembered, to be honest with you. Walshy says, I couldn't go yesterday, so my mate took his 5-year-old daughter, sat in the seat in row 1 of the Bobby Moore Lower. Yeah, I mean, the trains did play havoc, I've got to say. I mean, we was quite lucky in some ways. I normally get high speed 1 from Ebbsfleet International. 12 minutes there or thereabouts, 10, 12 minutes from when it departs from Ebbsfleet International, it pulls into Stratford, and it's great. But I had to, yesterday, what I did is I drove to Plumstead, Woolwich sort of direction, walked to Woolwich Arsenal DLR, and then just got the DLR, and I got off at Stratford High Street. So that was me. Oh, that's great. That's good to hear, Walshy. That's really good to hear. Happy, not really, Gramps, because after that one time, he took me all the time. Fair. He got you in the right way. I don't remember mine. Just the raw of the 3 World Cup winners walked out. Yeah, I'd imagine that might be something that you'd remember. My first West Ham game, I was 17. Better late than never, Walshy. Better late than never. Reckons it was the most expensive mistake he's made. Still going with him now, nearly 40 years later. It's not a mistake, Happy. It's not a mistake. You and your dad, you have a good relationship, the pair of you, and it's nice to see. It really is. All piss taking aside, and all the banter that I throw in your direction, being a filthy little ferret and all the rest of it, and you're in a hole again. Blah blah blah. Yeah, it's nice. I bet it did. I bet it must have been quite a mighty roar. I dare say the place was packed to the rafters, I would imagine. And of course, this was back in the days when it was terracing. It weren't sitting down. it was. Listen, don't think that I'm going soft on you, though, Happy. That's it's just a momentary lapse on my part. Okay, normal service will be resumed, and I'll stop being so nice to you, and I'll start calling you a filthy little ferret again. So you're just going to have to sort of live with it. But anyway, right. I'm probably going to knock it on the head very shortly. I'm just going to sort of finish with a couple of insights, our post-match insights for the game yesterday at London Stadium between ourselves and Sheffield United. So the first meaning is that we have won 3 consecutive Premier League games against Sheffield United for the very first time. While the last time we won 3 successive league games against them was September 1935. Wow. I think Budgie might remember it, though. I certainly don't. I'm joking, Budge. I love you, really. We have become the 10th team to reach 350 wins in the Premier League in what was our 1041st game in the competition. So there you go. There's only 9 teams that have won more matches than us in Premier League history. That's not bad. I'll take that all day long. And the last post-match insight is that Sheffield United have just 1 point, which I mentioned earlier, after 7 Premier League games this season, 1 draw, 6 defeats, while the last 3 sides to lose as many as 6 in their opening 7 matches in or top flight campaign, they've all been relegated, and that includes the Blades themselves in 2020-21 season. The other ones were also Norwich in 21-22 and Leicester last season. So the omens don't look good for the Blades. It's very likely that this is going to be a long, hard season. It may even be, who knows, that Paul Heckingbottom might have already bit the dust as far as they're concerned, and he's off down the Kermit. We'll wait and see. That's really not our problem, to be honest with you. I couldn't care less as far as they're concerned. They're very bitter from that situation that went on years ago with a certain Argentinian who plied his trade here for a couple of months and then disappeared off. But he's still something of a folk hero. Wonder what first team players are going to play Thursday. We'll deal with that in the preview of that game as and when it happens. Looked up the game a few years ago. The attendance was 41,000. And I bet it was a little bit packed in there like sardines. I really do. Wow puts us 10th, 41,000. No seating there. And yes, there is only one Carlos Tevez. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to knock it on the head there, as I always employ you to do, as well as thanking you for your patience and listening to me rabbit on for just over an hour. Please don't forget to like, comment on, and share the stream to your social media platforms, and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. Make sure you hit the bell icon for alerts of new content. As always, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much indeed for your support in this matter. I'm going to have it on my toes. Come on, you Irons, and we'll join you again for the preview of the game against Freiburg, which I believe will probably be Wednesday. We'll wait and see. Anyway, stay safe, guys. Come on, you Irons. The West Ham Massive are pleased to support Irons Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham United fans and friends inspired by the work of other football fan food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations for Newham Food Bank in Beckton, who supply 7 distribution centres in the borough 7 days a week, and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham and Essex communities. They are supported in their efforts by West Ham United, the WHU Foundation, LS185, London Legacy Development Corporation, Newham Council, Barking and Dagenham Council, the Met Police, Spire London East Hospital, and a large number of West Ham and football fans. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page, the link for which you will find in the description section of the video details of this stream on YouTube. Thank you for your support. Come on, you Irons.